Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. I want everyone to give another big round of applause for everyone who helped out with this film. If you could stand up if you helped out in this Thank you guys so much. Anyone who's involved in the movie, we're going to do a quick Q&A. And so anyone in the movie is more than welcome to come up here on the stage really quick. I have a few questions prepped, and then if anyone else has some questions, so give them another round of applause, guys. This is awesome. All right, so we've got our main actors and actress right up here. Before we get into the Q&A, I need to give a few thank yous. Mainly one in particular is to my parents who are back there. They let us film in their house. It was the day after, or the day of, my mom had a foot surgery. And she was on bed rest, typed up on pills, and they still let us commandeer the house and shoot, plus all the exteriors and stuff. So thank you to them, and thank you to Jared. He didn't come up here, but he's credited twice in the film because he was our sound designer and one of our groups. And
the guy who's doing basically everything on set.
He's the man. So I have a few questions. I'll ask each of you one question, and then if anyone else has some questions, we'll start with Matt over there. Matt is Daryl. Daryl's character progressed, but most of the progression of Daryl came from Matt. So Matt, will you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the character of Daryl and why you agreed to be in this film?
Well, pretty much they told me that he had Huntington's disease, and so I just kind of did a little bit of research and just acted the way someone probably would act. And I agreed to be in it because Ryan's my best friend, and I love acting.
Aww.
Cute. Okay, we'll go over to Kayla. Kayla is the MVP. Kayla, why did you agree to help us with this? And can you talk a little bit about the experience of being buried alive?
Sure.
She was dead.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I was dead at that point, I think. Exactly. I'm not dead now, so that's a plus. When we talk about just why? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Why did you help us out, and what was the experience like being buried?
Because it sounded like fun. I'd never been dead before, so it was really cold, but it was you guys were awesome. They had like a jacket for me and heaters and stuff, so that was fun.
And can we get that turned down a little bit? Or Sam, thank you.
I just wanted to say a little bit about Kayla real quick. We ended up not getting the girl that was supposed to be buried alive or be half dead at the last minute, and so I put something up on Facebook, and I said the person needs to look like they could be a teenager. I got women of all ages, 40-year-old women wanting to be buried alive, and all sorts of weird stuff. And Kayla sent me just a little clip that she did, and I was really blown away. It was just a monologue, but she is really, really talented and someone to look out for. And yeah, and we didn't get it fully utilized her since she was dead for about half of it, but hopefully in the future.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Can we get that up a little bit more? They muted you halfway through, and it's still struggling there. But Kayla, you also have a UVU project going on?
Yeah, I'm directing a 10-minute play for a festival right now. So, and then I just made it onto the UVU improv team too. So, yeah, it's fun stuff. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll go on to Sean and really quick. Sean, you have always wanted to play Mason's dad.
We came real close this last year into playing another kind of iconic father and son. It didn't work out, but maybe in the future we'll get that chance again.
What was it like? You're a well-noted actor. You've been in a lot of things. Same question that I've been asking everyone. Why would you help us out, and what was it like to be Mason's dad?
Well, first off, I'll answer your questions on one condition. That I hear Steven say, son, just once.
Son!
That's actually a very complicated question. It may seem simple, but anytime I get a chance to work with Mason, we worked together first time. We weren't in the same scenes, but we were in the same movie called The Cokeville Miracle. And we became friends since that, and we always talked about hopefully the opportunity would come up for us to play father-son at some point. And it's actually been close several times since then. So when I don't remember if Mason called me or if Mason told you to call me, but when the call came and the opportunity was given, before I even knew anything about the project, to play Mason's dad, I was in. But the character itself was fun for me because I've had several incarnations of acting careers, and I'm trying to jumpstart a second career, but my earlier career was when I was much younger, in my teens and 20s. And of course, in the 70s and 80s, I had few opportunities to play a dad, but B, I had few opportunities to play a dark character, and I've really wanted to explore darker characters. When I was younger, I wanted to be more of a character actor, but I was mostly cast as a boyfriend or the son or the good kid. So as I get older and I have the ability now to grow facial hair, not as much as Mason, but I'm still trying. Just trying to do things with this is really fun, and it's a challenge, and it's exciting. So I'm hoping to get more opportunities to play darker, more conflicted, troubled characters as I get older. And so this was my first foray into evil, and it was fun.
Bravo. I will say, every time we were editing, we would look at the footage and just turn to each other and be like, why is he so haunting? This is creepy.
So I also want to add that Sean just brought a lot of maturity to the set. Usually, as you can see from the one I did when I was 14, usually we had 14-year-olds playing the adults and stuff. So he brought a lot of maturity, not just because of his age, but he brought a calm presence, and he's very patient with the process as we were behind on shooting. And it was just awesome hearing stories about how he got to be on set with Michael Jackson, how Charlton Heston would invite him over for dinner, and he's had a very awesome life and brought a lot of experience to the set. And during the bathroom phone scene where Mason's talking to Sean, it would have been nice to do cutaways of him in prison calling from the phone booth, but in one sense, I thought just hearing his voice and just the inflections of his voice, Sean really nailed that, and I felt like he made a lot out of the material that he had.
It was good. It was good material. Thank you.
Sean's idea. We originally were kind of crushing on time, and so we had planned to just shoot that with just Mason and not bring Sean back. But he insisted and was gracious enough to come back for us on that third day, and was there in the other room doing the phone call live. We originally were just going to do the audio, but I think that did end up adding a lot to the performance, being able to play off of each other. But before we go to Mason, really quick, I want to do another shout out to Demelli. I know she's here. She was our 911 voice operator. everyone here except for Matt, unfortunately. But that night shoot, the very opening scene, we were running behind schedule. It was late at night, probably 10 or 11, and we ran up, just up the street actually, and we were shooting that, and it was like 5 degrees outside. And this was in February, and it was just miserable and cold, and everybody, you were all champs, and you powered through, and Jared was there too, and we were all...
I lost a finger.
Jared lost a finger, okay. This film is dedicated to Jared's finger. But yeah, everyone powered through. It was miserable, but I think that scene ended up adding a lot, having that opening scene, so bless you all. Final question, I'll hand it off to Stephen, then we'll take 3 questions if anybody has them. Stephen, where did this come from? Why did you make it? And do you have anything additional to add?
Oh, Mason.
And then we'll go to Mason.
I've thought, I had this weird obsession with serial killers for a little bit, where I was just in a dark time, and for some reason reading about serial killers made my life seem not as hard. And one of the things that struck me the most was hearing about not only the greatest victims, as Caleb played in the movie, who suffer the greatest violence, and not only the family of such victims, but the family of people who create or who do heinous crimes. And if you look at some of Ted Bundy's stories and stuff like that, it would have been horrific for his wife, for example, to find out what everything that had gone on in their house and in sacred spaces for them. And so I was just really interested in that, and I've also been interested in kind of the image of rappers of positivity. You kind of have Chance the Mormon, and you have, Chance the Rapper, James the Mormon, kind of combine 2 people right there. And you have a lot of musicians who have a really positive message. So I wanted to create a character that Mason 100% pulled off, of a person who has the right ideals, but he doesn't have the attitude to match it, and also put him in a very dark situation where he has to figure out the real power of positivity and what it means to him.
Last is best. That's why I said Mason. So we're going to talk just really quickly. Mason is, he as well, has a lot of credits if you look about the IMDb. He recently, and it's still in theaters actually, was in Wind River, directed by Taylor Sheridan. And he's had a lot of big opportunities, and he's working with Taylor Sheridan again right now in the new series Yellowstone, acting directly opposite of Kevin Spacey.
Costner. Kevin Costner.
Sorry.
Different Kevin.
So tell us why you've come back to work with Steven again. This is the third time?
Third
time.
film.
Why would you come back and be in 3 movies with him? And then tell us a little bit about how you came to develop the character of Jay.
I love working for Steven. Tonight was a prime example. Steven tells stories differently than most filmmakers, and I like that. I like the unique way that he tells stories. Even his 14-year-old film. I mean, you got to think that came out before Hot Rod, and I feel like Hot Rod stole some jokes from it. So he thinks differently, and those are the artists that actually make changes or go somewhere in film or in any art. Is the people who do it differently and the people who put their own flash or spin to it. So I love working. I love it when Steven hits me up saying he's got something, because I'm like, oh, yes, thank you. Like, you want to work with me again, because I want to work with you. And so they told me, I think, oh gosh, I was at the movies and I ran into you. You're like, hey, I got an idea for a movie, and we've been talking about you playing, and it's a rapper. I was like, oh. And it was hard, because I've done singing on camera, I've done other musical things, but I haven't tried my hand at rapping before. So it was definitely a battle and a struggle, but one of the things I also love about Steven is we have a really direct, open line of communication. So I go to him, or I bounce ideas off him. Brother's Keeper, I remember that one. When he sent me the script, I thought he wanted me to play the brother, and then when I found out it was Willie, I was like, oh, dude, I can't do that. But he's like, no, you got it, and we worked on it, and same with this role. We just, we brainstormed. He had a vision of what he wanted, and every time I kind of came with him an idea, he's like, you're not quite there, or go this way with it, and I think we ended up finding a really fun role, or a really fun character. In a sense, I think he's as unique as Willie, maybe just as handicapped in its own way. But that's what makes those characters brilliant to play and really fun. So it was a pleasure.
Which I just want to point out, my mic's off. I want to point out as well that it's a huge accreditation to Mason's talent. His raw talent was all of the rapping scenes we shot in one take. And he was able to pull off and memorize and pull off those raps all in one take. So that's some raw talent right there. We did end up cutting, but it's all real, all him. Okay, so just last really quick, does anybody have any questions about any of the films?
Just real quick about Mason's process. The first rap you see, I don't think you had much time to practice before that, right? Yeah, he had some practice, but he came on set and he just knocked it out in a couple takes. And then by the last one it was our second day of filming, and so he was learning the lines of the rap as we were walking out to do that shoot. And so, not only does he have the looks and the talent, but he has this professionalism where if something needs done, he'll get it done. And after 3 short films with Mason, it's hard to branch out to other actors because he always just nails everything. And if I did hold a lot of auditions, I know it'd go 100% to Mason anyway. And so a lot of times I'll even just write characters for Mason just because I enjoy working with him so much.
Perfect, awesome. Does anybody have any questions about any of the 3 films? Yes.
So I couldn't help noticing that the girlfriend, how stunning she is, a great actress. She reminded me so much of Rachel McAdams. Did anybody else think about that?
So the question was, Ashley Santos Rockwell now, she's about to have her second kid. So congratulations to her, but she reminds her of Rachel McAdams. Did anybody pick up on anything like that, or what was the experience like working with Ashley on set?
I've worked with Ashley before, and I love working with Ashley. I think she's great and she's brilliant. Her career is actually really taken off right now. I just have a funny story, really, working with her. So my wife's in the audience. She's a newlywed. We're newlyweds, and and I invited her to come to. Oh, thank you. I invited her to come to set. She'd never been to set before, and so I was like, you got to come and see me work. So she came to set, and I realized, like, okay, we're shooting our kiss scene at like 9 a.m. So I was like, well, come at noon. Come at noon, and you'll see me work. And for anyone who's worked in film or who hasn't, typically you get to set, and then it's kind of like, okay, what are we doing? Or like, let's rearrange to what makes sense with our time frame and light and availability of actors and stuff. So we didn't shoot the kiss scene until right at noon. And so that was the experience of my wife. But, Ashley is a total pro, and, it takes a lot of maturity to go to set and have 2 married people who love their spouses have an on-screen kiss without making it uncomfortable, and then to leave without, any of that TMZ stuff. So she's a real pro.
Awesome, thank you. All right, thank you. And Ashley, I had the chance to work with her on a feature film, and that's kind of how we had her in mind, to have her come and audition, and she crushed it. So, and the Mormon boy, or the Utah boy line was totally just, she came up with it with Mason on the day of. We had scripted something else, but I mean, you guys laughed, so I guess it worked. So what, do we have any more questions? Sorry. Yeah, Brent.
This is kind of a weird one, but your second film, the one with the father and son, what was the inspiration behind that?
What was the inspiration for, what was it called? A Slightly Abusive Father.
You know, to be honest, I don't remember too well. I remember the teenage years are very weird years, and you have a lot of weird things go through your head. I've always loved beavers, and I thought it'd be cool to have a beaver villain. And then you'll notice in a lot of the short films that I like to write, they're usually about family relationships, just because the tension, just because there's so much love in a family, the tension is already built into that, and so it lends itself very well to create drama.
Awesome. Okay, we have time for one more. Before we do that one, I need to thank a few more people, specifically Pleasant Grove High School for helping us out and letting us use the space. Thank you, a huge thank you to Leslie Rhodes, who is the new drama teacher who let us come in here and take over the auditorium, and I hardly know her, so bless her soul. And then the final thank you I have before we move on is to all of our sweethearts who dedicated and helped us through this, because this was a lot of time out of our lives. So thank you to all of our sweethearts, and specifically from me to my new fiance Bella, and to Steven's wife, Kirsten. I had to do that just for a shout out and just to say fiance, because it's new and I love her. Do we have one last question? Sorry. Yes.
All right, so I have tons of questions.
Okay, let him rip.
Mainly for Steve, but I'm going to construct it to one. Hopefully all of the questions we answer. So starting from the first to the third, like what was the time frame? And on all three videos, like what equipment did you use, like what camera? I noticed like different lighting and everything, but like you can definitely tell like the evolution of your filmmaking, which is great, by the way. Just curious, what did you use?
So the question was, what was the time frame like? And during the evolution from the first film when you were 14 to this one when you're 21, we'll say. A little bit older than that, but what was the evolution of the filmmaking as well as the camera and equipment?
So the first one, Slightly Abusive Father, I just had the 8mm digital, which was awesome, having it digital so you could edit it on iMovie instead of just cutting. Before, I'd have to, when it was the analog, yeah, you just have to rewind it to a specific part and then start filming again, and then rewind it and start filming again, and you had no chance of adding music and stuff. And we shot that maybe in 3 or 4 days, just as long as I could keep my best buddy on set. And when I say on set, we didn't have a set. And then Brother's Keeper, we shot that on Ryan's, is it Canon 5D? Yeah, and then I borrowed a couple friends' lenses for that one. And that was a day and like an hour. And so on these indie shoots, you really got to work fast. And with Rhyme Sublime, I didn't take into account working with a bigger crew for the first time, which was a very small crew if you compare it to Hollywood or most independent films. But having Ryan, Jared, and Cameron on set was the biggest help. And I was actually able to do some real lights and stuff like that. But all of that stuff slows down the process. and so I wasn't able to do as many camera angles as I wanted. And so it's all just a really great learning process. The last one was mostly shot on the Blackmagic Ursa and then the Red Scarlet, which are what, $40,000 to $80,000 cameras? Yeah, they're just like more expensive than everything I've ever bought in my whole life. And so it was just a dream come true to not only work with awesome equipment, but work with people like Jared and Ryan and Cameron who do this type of thing on a daily basis and really know how to run a set. And they were super patient with me, which I really appreciated. But yeah, thank you everyone so much for coming out. It's really fun. I see a lot of people that I love out in the crowd, and I really appreciate the support. Have a great night. Yeah, Mama, one more question?
Sorry, I just wanted to comment on this sweet, lovely thing that you used, the foot. I just think that she portrayed her.
Oh yeah, one more round of applause for Kayla. Courtesy of my mom.
So everyone, if they can stay, we'll have them just out by the doors really quick if you want to ask some more questions or comment or stuff like that. Mainly Steven, for your million questions. Snag him. But thank you guys so much for coming. We couldn't have done this without you. We're excited for the next one. This will be entering the film festival circuit. So thank you for coming to the premiere, and we hope that it does well and goes far. So thank you. Please continue to support all of us and independent film, because it's not possible without people like you. So thank you. Have a good night and drive safe.